New in Ethereum is the concept of smart contracts. And hey, this concept is the whole reason this course here exists to begin with. So it must be pretty important. And indeed, this concept is so important, not only is it the reason for this course, it also powers a multi-billion-dollar industry with hundreds of thousands of users. Okay, now you're curious. So what is a smart contract? How can a contract be smart? Is it a contract made by a very clever lawyer? Is it just a very cleverly designed contract between two entities? No, not quite. The smart means something else. So what is it? Well, the contract is smart because it's actually smart itself. It has its own brain and is making sure the rules of the contract are enforced correctly. So kind of like a contract with artificial intelligence. I like to think of smart contracts as essentially automated accounts, which are immutable and verifiable. Automated, immutable, and verifiable. Okay, well, what does that mean? Let's start with automated. Think back of Bitcoin for a second. Here we have all these people sending transactions, like, hey, I send you 1 Bitcoin, then I send that person half a Bitcoin, and so on. So behind every transaction is a person sending out this transaction, sending it from his Bitcoin address to someone else's Bitcoin address. But now imagine a Bitcoin address is not a person anymore, but controlled by computer software. Who says it needs to be a person, right? I mean, we are talking about digital money. So of course, software could be behind automatically sending out transactions. And now, what does verifiable mean for software? When you have software on your computer running, do you know what exactly it's actually doing? Probably not, right? But what if you developed that piece of software yourself? Well, now all of a sudden you do know exactly what it's doing. And now imagine you upload the source code to something like GitHub. I'm assuming you know GitHub, but for the few that don't, it's a website to share the software source code with others. And now when you share source code like that, everyone who wants to can download the software, look at the source code, and understand exactly what it's doing as well. That's what we mean with verifiable. And now, what is immutable software? It means software that doesn't change its behavior once it's running. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, when you run software on your own computer, how do you know its behavior is not suddenly changing? Unless there's a hack or there's an auto-update function, you probably know it's not just going to change on its own. So it's kind of immutable, but of course, you could just stop the software and install a new version. Now it just changed. So really, not that immutable after all. Don't worry, this might all still be kind of confusing. So far, it sounds like we could just have all automated, verifiable, and immutable software for Bitcoin. And that's actually true, but there's an important distinction here. So next, we'll look at what that distinction is and what is so unique about Ethereum's solution.